Dear Ateneo Senior High School student leaders, your participation in the Ninoy and Cory Aquino leadership journey is most relevant during these trying times of the coronavirus pandemic. 2020 is the time of COVID 19. Frequent hand washing, wearing face masks and face shields, physical distancing, staying home, community quarantine, lockdown, curfew, online learning. This pandemic must be the first major disruptive event for your generation. It continues to be a time of uncertainty, anxiety, and high levels of stress. In these intimidating times, we pray for a serene heart, a courageous disposition, and wise judgment. But make no mistake, we will survive COVID 19 and we will face the challenge of building a new normal or a better normal. Dear Ateneo Senior High student leaders, you have a special calling to build back better, not just to resume business as usual after the pandemic, but to show resilience, our community becoming stronger under the pressure. And I am confident as true Ateneans, you will rise to the challenge. Because of the Ateneo values we try to inculcate in you and which we pray you will deepen during your leadership journey. Our vision has been to form you as leaders of character, leaders imbued with Ignatian values, to be Ignatian leaders. Especially in these times, formation helps leaders look to the heart of our mission, loving and serving God and one another. Guided by our tradition and common mission, Jesuit trained leaders can emerge from this pandemic not just having survived, but having contributed to the greater good of our communities, our nation, and our world. Formation is a lifelong process that develops more than a set of skills and best practices. In Ignatian speak, it develops a particular way of proceeding, a way of approaching the world with thoughtfulness, care, courage, and love. This mission formation is not a luxury. It should be clear now more than ever during this time of pandemic that Ignatian formation for mission bears fruit not just in normal times but in times of crisis especially. Allow me to remind you of three important Ateneo values. First, discernment and spiritual freedom. Authentic discernment or making the best choice among competing good options requires a deep level of interior freedom. An Ignatian leader is able to sift through the many fears and attachments of the time to prioritize what is really important, the people that we are called to serve. Saint Ignatius identified key basic attitudes and qualities for thoughtful discernment: openness, generosity, courage, a habit of reflection, having priorities straight, and not confusing means with ends. Are these qualities not precisely the ones needed in leaders today, whether in the economy, healthcare, culture, or politics? Like St. Ignatius, we beg the Lord for the gift of discernment in whatever we do, that we will always consider two things: it is the right thing to do, and it is what will give us peace. Second, pursuing the magis. The Ignatian term magis is often confused with more. We should do more. We should do better. We should choose the option that boosts our public image or our bottom line. As an Ignatian scholar notes, a closer translation is the more universal good, tied closely to the phrase ad maiorem Dei gloriam, for the greater glory of God. As we rebuild, we will need leaders at all levels committed to making decisions for a good greater than any individual part. Like Father Ignatius, we pray to the Lord for the gift of magis, the more universal good, AMDG, for the greater glory of God, that in everything we do, we give God the honor and the glory. Third, cura personalis. There is now grieving for the people who have fallen ill and have perished and even lost family members. There is sadness about the economic difficulties brought about by the pandemic. As Jesuit trained leaders, we have the blessing of approaching grieving and healing from the perspective of faith through an understanding of cura personalis, personal and loving care for the whole person. Ignatian leaders pursue care beyond academic and physical health needs. An Ignatian leader acts out of the recognition that our family and friends, our companions and colleagues are individuals with vocations, joys, and sufferings. Like San Ignacio, we ask the Lord for the grace of cura personalis, personal and loving care for the whole person, mind, body, and spirit, that we will always help each other become the kind of people God created us to be. Discernment, magis, cura personalis. These Ignatian values are closely related to the ideals of Ninoy and Cory: prayer, discernment, and self sacrifice. Their values truly resound now more than ever, and Cory and Ninoy are true beacons of hope that beckon a more positive outlook for what is to come. Saint Ignatius once said, God's love calls us to move beyond fear. We ask God for the courage to abandon ourselves unreservedly so that we might be molded by God's grace, even as we cannot see where that path may lead us. These words of St. Ignatius Loyola offer us great consolation and encouragement today, but they are no easy prescription. They require the interior freedom, humility, and courage that come from Ignatian formation. Dear Ateneo student leaders, you are invited to live lives rooted in transformative hope that even when faced with a future more uncertain than ever, you will continue, like Ninoy and Cory, to fight the good fight wholeheartedly and bravely. God bless you always.